Hey, what's happening, y'all? Welcome back to the Media Goose channel. It is I, the Media Goose, your friend Ryan, and the goose is loose, baby. Huh? I'm coming at you today with my first video in a little while. I finally got a job that I'm going to be starting this week, so I've had to kind of focus on that for a little bit. But I am still coming at you with my MCU review. And it is time for Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. This movie is excellent. I really don't understand what led to the critical pushback that this movie got. The only real criticism I came away with is that the first 80% of the movie does follow almost beat for beat the same structure as the first Avengers movie, but I think there's enough different in here, and also I think it's more dramatic. It's still funny. I think Age of Ultron is more funny in the way that the Captain America movies are funny instead of the Iron Man movies being funny. This movie has a lot more darkness and just heavier themes going on. It's not just Tony with PTSD anymore, it's everybody. And that's because this movie introduces Wanda Maximoff. And of course, her brother Pietro, Quicksilver, and the Scarlett Witch. I love both of these characters. It's a shame what ends up happening to Quicksilver in this movie, but I'd have to assume that happened because Quicksilver was being used in the X-Men movies. This movie came out in May 2015, and Evan Peters made his first performance in 2014, so they already had a Quicksilver in their universe. So my guess is they were only allowed to use Quicksilver under the condition that he did not make it out of this movie. And I get that. I think it would have been weird to have two different Quicksilvers, although they were very tonally different. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver. I really do. I think he does an excellent job. I honestly kind of prefer it to the very comedic Evan Peters version. And Wanda is, she's maybe my favorite superhero. She is incredible. She still has her Sokovian accent here. I don't think it's weird that she doesn't keep her accent through all of the movies. For me, it's a matter of she can warp reality. If she decides she no longer has an accent, she no longer has an accent. I don't think it's a plot hole. I don't think there's anything wrong with her dropping the accent. She had lived in Sokovia her whole life, and now she's an Avenger on a global scale, so she, kind of Americanizes. A lot of people do that. They slowly lose their accents over time, so somebody who could actually control that, of course they would. But besides that, Quicksilver and Wanda, I think, are an excellent addition to this movie, coming in initially as villains, kind of as the two henchmen for the big bad of this movie, Ultron. Ultron presents the issue of the slippery slope that is AI. Tony, this whole arc of Tony wanting to protect the world feels to me like the first traces of this character potentially becoming Doctor Doom. I feel like the scene in the barn with Nick Fury could be a scene that matters in Avengers Doomsday. I think a lot of stuff that happens in this movie could be relevant in Avengers Doomsday. If Victor Von Doom or this Victor Von Doom is a Tony Stark variant, maybe he has to go back to this moment in the timeline to recruit Wanda. I've always theorized that Wanda is in the void, but if she's not, maybe Doom has to time travel back to Age of Ultron to pick Wanda out. where she's not like a full-blown Avenger yet. Maybe she can still be manipulated. Because I do think Doom is clearly collecting superpowered individuals. He picked up Franklin. There's hints at other characters. I think he was walking up to Steve's door in the Steve Rogers Doomsday trailer. But I will leave the Doctor Doom speculation there. And it's funny that Tony sees Ultron as world peace. And Wanda has a line later in the movie that hits so well when she says Ultron can't tell the difference between saving and destroying the world. Where do you think he gets that? So I really feel like this movie, one, it shows you the continual groundwork being laid to Civil War, but also it starts to show Tony's hubris and his need to be a savior coming from that PTSD. It's really effective. And that scene where Wanda messes up all of the Avengers mentally, and we see all of their flashbacks happening, is excellent. It honestly felt very reminiscent of the Void in Thunderbolts. One criticism I do have of this is that Wanda's powers are almost nerfed in this. Like, she just has a generic red glow. When Steve says, "Can you stop this thing?" and like her powers, it's kind of like generic superhero stuff where like a glowing power manipulates matter. And I'm like, I don't know that that's exactly Wanda's power, but I give it grace because Wanda is also still figuring out how to use her powers. And she obviously doesn't know she's a witch yet. So that's not a part of it. The Mind Stone is the primary catalyst of Wanda's power. So I don't think she fully grasped her reality-altering power. And I thought it was really cool introducing Ulysses Claw here, because that's a Black Panther seed being sown. They also mention Wakanda, and vibranium is obviously a big part of this. And I really like it. I like the way they are setting up Black Panther's integration into the MCU. And I love that sequence with Claw, where first it's Quicksilver and Wanda and Claw negotiating, and he's kind of throwing his weight around because he knows these are kids. And then Ultron shows up, and that whole battle is really awesome. And I love the way anytime Tony and Ultron are together, their similarities become really clear. The way, like, Ultron says a joke right before Tony could. I think it's the, "Clearly you've never made an omelet." He beat me to it by 1 second. It's excellent. And the fact that Wanda then prints all of those flashbacks or kind of warped dreams into the Avengers' head and leaves them all really emotionally affected. I think it's a really great kind of... the way they handle the moment of the heroes being kind of scattered is different than they did it in the first Avengers, where I said a lot of this movie follows that same groundwork. This moment on is when the movie becomes different and starts to really shine, in my opinion. And with everybody down, you have Tony having to fight Hulk alone. But for Tony, it's not even a fight. It's him trying to save his friend. Bruce's best friend in this group is Tony, and possibly vice versa. So every hit in this fight scene hits the audience, because we love both of these characters. My favorite moment from that scene is Tony and the Hulkbuster just pounding Bruce. "Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep." That was hysterical. And I think I really enjoyed the way it was handled, showing the amount of carnage that the Hulk caused. Bruce had really kind of... he could become the Hulk as he did at the beginning of this movie and go back to normal, but here, because Scarlet Witch got in his head, that kind of peace between Hulk and Banner has been compromised, and now Hulk, who we know is afraid of Earth hating him, well, maybe not yet. We know that in Thor Ragnarok, the next time we see him, but that really serves as the moment that takes Bruce off-world, takes Hulk off-world, because he sees these civilians running from him, bleeding, looking at him in fear. And it's the same feeling he had in the original Hulk movie. And it's really effectively done. And I also enjoy the Natasha and Bruce thing going on here. I think that I like their scenes, and then Hawkeye are kind of the biggest differences from Avengers 1 to here. Hawkeye is kind of like the emotional core of this movie. He kind of reminded me of like Cyborg in the Snyder Cut. Like, he is the heart of this team, and we meet his family here, and it's really touching. Something I want to bring up as well, I mentioned the beginning of the movie. I love that this movie starts just the Avengers at battle, and we come to find they've been rooting out all of the Hydra bases around the world. That's really cool, in my opinion. We see them catch that last base that Strucker was running with the twins, Wanda and Pietro there, and they think they've won. And I like the way that establishes the Avengers have been operating in between movies. And also, because they end up getting away with the scepter, they think they've won. And obviously they have not. And then we get that amazing party scene as well, where we get everybody trying to lift the hammer, and it's hilarious. It's one of the best scenes in the MCU. I think a lot of scenes that I consider top-tier scenes in the MCU come from Age of Ultron. I would say this movie might have more memorable moments than the original Avengers. The whole scene with the hammer. Fucking Vision lifting the hammer. Everything about Vision. Vision is such a welcome addition to this movie and this universe. I love the way he's another character who feels kind of like he belongs in a Thor movie because of his grand, kind of regal nature. I think he takes a lot of his style from Thor. We see him literally copy Thor's cape. And I love the way they write the dialogue for Ultron, for Vision, I should say. I love that first scene where he's not just blindly following the Avengers. He is autonomous. He has agency. And the moment he lifts the hammer and everybody's like, that's, to this point in the MCU, Vision lifting the hammer is like the biggest holy shit moment in Marvel. He lifted it before Steve Rogers did. And I love the fact that this whole movie, not the whole movie, but a lot of this movie, the crux of it was Tony's desire to merge the Iron Legion and AI Ultron. And then the moment that kind of ends that conversation is Tony's creation being worthy of lifting Mjolnir. And I love Thor just walking by. Well done. Incredible stuff. I really love this movie, y'all. I think it's excellent. And then the final fight sequence, the final battle on Sokovia, I like the fact that it was more focused on saving people. I don't know if BVS had happened yet. I don't think it have. I think Batman vs. Superman was 2016. But a big criticism... Well, no, it wasn't BVS. It was Man of Steel that had the big criticism of Superman didn't save anybody. Him and Zod destroyed a town, and Superman didn't save a soul. And the final battle, half of this Avengers team is strictly working on saving people. And this is also another difference. In the first movie, Tony was ready to die. In this movie, Every member of the Avengers makes the choice to stay on that rock and die to make sure no civilians lose their lives. That's the difference between the Marvel and DC, or at least where they were at this moment as universes. And I really love Ultron. I guess I understand the argument that he's undercooked. I don't agree, but I can understand that perspective. I think the idea that as soon as he came into existence, he jumped to that, genocide is a commentary on the dangers of AI. And the kind of slippery slope it represents. Vision and Jarvis on one end, and Ultron on the other. They are the two ends of the AI spectrum. And I really loved, obviously, James Spader's performance has a lot of Tony Stark. I'm not going to call them homages, but I think James Spader educated himself on Tony Stark in the way that he performed it. There was a lot of RDJ in it, and I think the writing of the character was also excellent. He never needed more than a line to get his full point across. He didn't need to monologue. He just very concisely cut through, and I think it was excellent. I can't say enough good things about this movie. And I love at the end when Quicksilver and Wanda turn because they realize Ultron doesn't plan on saving anybody. He plans on wiping out humanity. So they turn to the Avengers, and that scene between Hawkeye and Wanda. First off, Hawkeye and Quicksilver, anytime they interact in this movie, I love it. So then the fact that it is Hawkeye and Wanda, the other sibling, and he gives her the Avengers speech, it was so well done and I think beautifully written. Man, I loved rewatching this. I was not bored at all. I thought it really kept pace. I know Joss Whedon is a scumbag, but I thought the direction was really good in this. Camera work and battle sequences. I think the writing was just excellent. I said earlier, but I really think I loved how this movie took the comedic stylings of a Cap movie instead of an Iron Man movie. And I think the first Avengers kind of feels more like an Iron Man movie, and this movie feels more like a full-on Avengers movie. So, y'all, I absolutely love this movie. I think that... Where would I have it right now? So the top three: Guardians, Winter Soldier, and Avengers. I think I put Age of Ultron right behind Avengers, which would put it in front of Iron Man 3, and then the rest of the solo titles below that top 5. This is a really fun movie. I suggest going back and rewatching it if you haven't rewatched it in a while. I also feel like there's a lot here that they could mine for Doomsday, because I still believe that Victor Von Doom in some way is going to be a variant of Tony Stark or connected to the Tony Stark story. Don't be surprised if we go back to this timeline in Doomsday. So, y'all, what did you think of Age of Ultron? Did you love it as much as I did? My friend Tom, who comments on all of the Marvel videos I do, thank you, brother, he said this is the peak. From, Avengers until Endgame, we are in the peak of the MCU. Next up, I have Ant-Man. And we already know Marvel doesn't miss on origin story movies. Every first movie is great. So y'all, I'm so excited to talk about Ant-Man next. I'm also going to have my Batman Forever review coming soon, so keep your eye out for that. As I start my new job over the next few weeks, I don't think there's going to be a lot of extra videos, but I'm going to keep my movie reviews coming. I also am going to do movie reviews for Obsession and for Backrooms. So y'all, subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, give me your thoughts on Age of Ultron below, and thank you for hanging out today, y'all. The goose is out.